When you go to the doctor, to the pediatrician, you listen very carefully, especially when they're young. I remember, when we had Ethan, now he's in 6th grade, but when he's a baby, he's losing weight. He's got to gain 3 ounces. Okay, we'll up the program. I mean, you are all in with that pediatrician. But when it comes to what the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends for screen time, I think most of us are like, all of a sudden we turn a deaf ear, because here's what they recommend. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends no screen time for kids under the age of 2. And then they recommend no more than 2 hours per day for other children. Now, those of you who have children under 2, and you also have an older sibling in the house, oh my goodness, how am I going to do that? Because if my little 3-year-old doesn't get their half-hour TV show, that's going to be big, And so you've really this is hard, and I'm not telling you that it's easy. To make these choices is difficult, but I promise you that if you say with your children as they're young, we are going to keep these screens out of their lives. You've all seen it. Pastor Jeff's talked about the kid, the 2-year-old who's trying to expand the picture. And why won't the paper photograph expand? And you've seen the 18-month-old in the little stroller in the grocery store just glued to their tablet, not seeing a thing around them of what's happening, and not seeing a real apple and real cereal and real this, just looking at their Apple computer and that's it, And so it's very important developmentally for kids not to be surrounded by screens like that, and then 2 hours or less a day for older kids. Now, what's the reality? The reality is that 90% of parents will allow their kids 2 or younger to watch TV. And 39% of families with infants and young children have the TV on at least 6 hours per day. Almost 1/3 of children have a TV in their room by age 3. And almost 71% of kids age 8 to 18 have a TV in their bedroom. So I want to say this word of advice for those of you who are thinking about a TV in the bedroom. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because even think of just your child's sleep cycle. They say that you should power down your screens an hour before you go to bed optimally, so that your body can start producing melatonin and it thinks it's time to sleep. And when they see that screen, they think, oh, it's awake. So can you think of your child? Do you think any child is going to say, oh, look, it's 7:15, I better turn off my TV because I'm going to be going to sleep soon? There is no child, I don't care how saintly your child is, no child can self-regulate in that way. And so we as the parents, we've got to be the ones that put that boundary down, and that we will say there will be no screens in your bedroom simply for your sleep. Now, that's not even talking about the content of what they're watching on the screens, but simply for having the screen. Now, as I'm talking tonight, there's going to be some points where you're going to go, okay, we've done that. Okay, that was last year. Okay, we've done that for 5 years. What are we supposed to do now? And I want to tell you this. As you consider what you'd like to do and you talk to your family members about it this evening and beyond, I want you to think that one way, instead of saying to your teenager, I went to this growing up social thing and they said that we shouldn't have a screen in your room and I've allowed that, and you know what? You shouldn't watch so much TV anyway, and I'm just taking, instead of being that way, start this way with an apology of, you know what, buddy, it's been a lot easier to just let you have what you want. And it's easier than fighting with you. It's easier than, you're quiet, you're kind of out of our hair, but it's my fault, and I'm sorry. And I'd like to reconsider this. And if you will start with whatever behavior you want to change that you have been allowing, that you now realize, I kind of want to backpedal out of that, you start with that apology, that humility that says, I don't do everything right, but I'd like to make it up to you, and I'd like to make things right. Do you think we could try another way? And I promise you that will go a lot better than, why do you play so many video games? And how many times have I had to tell you only 1 hour? So you start with those limits. And if you're the 8-hour family a day and you want to get closer to that 2-hour a family a day, then you gradually get there, shaving off an hour every 2 weeks until you get to the place where you want to be. And I just want to encourage you to be consistent and not to give up with it. Now, it's okay to run counterculture, because around us with our kids, lots of kids are glued to this, right? And so it's okay to do that. And if you want to know, is my child getting too much screen time? I have a little quiz on my website, and it's right there in your notes. You can do this later. And it's on my website. You can take the quiz, is my child getting too much screen time? And sometimes we laugh that it's really the spouses that have to take the quiz. Does my spouse have too much screen time? So you can do it for yourself as well. Now, as I'm talking, I want you to be picturing your own child, and you know which of your children has more of a propensity towards screens. And it could be all of them, it could be one of them. So you don't want your child to grow up thinking, oh, I get to have everything that I want. And many times when you look at the child, they look so cute, and you want to give them everything they want. I'm going to show you a picture of Lucy. She's our youngest. This is her real hair. And so we did not gel this picture, we did not blow dry it special. It just was like this. This was a really good day for her. Some days were really bad, and it would go right down the middle, and it looked like the Red Sea was just going right through it. But this is our Lucy. And you know what? If you think of parenting your child, and you think you're parenting a child the whole time, you're going to do things a certain way. But if you think, wait a minute, this little cute baby someday is going to grow up into an adult, is going to grow up into an employee, is going to grow up into a boss, is going to grow up maybe into a mom, maybe into a wife. I have got to train this little girl and teach her how to be a good adult. This next picture is a current picture of Lucy. So she went from baby, this is her at Agape League, which was the play that we did here last month. And she's growing up, as you can see. And if I am parenting a child, and if you are parenting a child, this means that when your child at a restaurant, who's maybe 5 years old, says, Mommy, can I use your phone to play a game? If I'm parenting a child, I say, sure, because I figure I want you to be quiet. I want you to be happy. Children play games. Go for it. Have fun. Yeah. But if I am parenting a future adult, then I say to myself, wait a minute, you can't sit here for 10 minutes with me and talk to me, or play tic-tac-toe, or maybe talk to the server that's talking to us and ask a question. If you're not learning how to do those kind of behaviors, then you're not going to become a very good adult. So no, I'm sorry, you need the self-control, even at age 5, to not need an electronic binky, little digital binky at the restaurant. And if I am raising an adult, then I say no, I'm sorry. So I really want to challenge you as you think of screens in your child. It's so easy to say, well, kids do that. Kids are with screens. This is our new generation. But you can say, no, my child can do things a little bit differently, and I am not raising a child. I am raising a future adult. So let's talk now about that emotional development. Because all of us, when it comes down, you want to develop a child who's emotionally ready. And I'm going to show you 5 A+ skills that Dr. Gary Chapman and I came up with. And these are not the A+ skills of the grades. Those are great also. But these are emotionally A+ type of skills. And I want you to think about this. If you have a child who can show affection, so they can say, I love you, and they can hug, and they can love. If they are appreciative, they say thank you. They're not that entitled teenager, but they say thank you, they're grateful. If they know how to manage anger, if they know how to apologize, if they know how to pay attention in school, you have what? A pretty successful, emotionally healthy child. Well, let's think about how technology impacts these 5 areas of emotional growth. First of all, affection. Let's say Dr. Gary Chapman, he's written the book, The 5 Love Languages, and one of the love languages is touch. That one way that your child feels your love is when you hug them, when you kiss them, when you wrestle with them on the floor, when you read them a story and they're on your lap. Our youngest kid, the Lucy from Agape League, she's like this. When she was 2 years old, she'd always come in our room and she'd say, huggy, huggy. It was the first thing she said. So I knew, oh, her love language is touch. Well, think if you are on screens a lot, how does that impact your love language spoken to your child? So you typically, when your child is playing a video game, you are not snuggled up to your child like, oh, way to go. You just get them one more level, buddy. When you see your child with a screen, it's your signal to go do something else, because your child is occupied with the screen. And then all of a sudden, that affection of love, of touch, it's absent. And I know so many parents who have said, oh, Arlene, I didn't even mean it, but I got a tablet, and one night I was really busy, so my child, my preschooler, looked at the tablet before going to bed, and it read the bedtime story to them, and then they fell asleep. And then that was really convenient, because I'm really busy. And then before I knew it, every night the little tablet was reading to my little girl and putting her to sleep. And I realize now I'm not showing that affection that she needs. And so I have to think, how is technology impacting our ability to show affection to our children, and then our child's ability to also show affection to us? And the second one is appreciation. And you all know this. If you're hosting any kind of kids event and you're giving something out, and there's a big long line, they'll say, why didn't I get the Snickers? I wanted the green one. I wanted the blue one. She got a bigger piece than me. And there'll be one child who will say, thank you. And you'll say, who are you? And what God has raised you. You'll be so amazed that this kid actually said thank you. And if you can raise a child who is grateful, you are head and shoulders above the rest of society. Because what technology teaches is whatever I want is instant. Have you noticed that your children get antsy? It's like, oh, Mom, what's happening? Like it's waiting. Mom, there's no Wi-Fi. Mom, I can't get on. I can't get it. They freak out because they're used to everything being instant. And when they're used to everything being instant, when things don't go that way, because life is not like that, they become very entitled and like, I need it now. Think of the choices. If they don't like the program they're watching, there are 700 others. If they don't like the commercials, don't worry, we have the DVR. If you don't like us, it used to be we have to buy a whole album, of something. Those of you who remember that, now they can just pick the song. So they're very used to getting exactly what they want when they want it because of technology. And because of the choice and because of the ease, it makes them very entitled and very ungrateful when things do not go their way. So really, for you to think, ooh, if I see this in my child, I need to limit how convenient his or her life is. So it's okay for your child to be bored. It's actually good for them. It is okay for your child not to get the latest and the greatest right when it comes out, not to be like everyone else, the third grader in school that has the iPhone. I didn't get my phone until I was in my 40s, and I see this like third grader with a phone exactly like mine. And so it's okay for you to make your child wait for electronics, earn their electronics so that they can be grateful. You know stories like this. One family, one child earned a laptop, the other child was given a laptop, and you know which high schooler took better care of their laptop, the one that had to earn it for themselves. And so if you have your children earn things, wait for things, not get them right away, that's good. Sometimes you feel like, I'm a bad parent. I didn't give it like the other people did. No, you are a good parent. Carry on, because you're helping them to be grateful. So appreciation. The next one is anger management. And this needs no explanation. You've seen your child's anger. You've seen your own anger. One of the differences that is interesting, I was speaking to this gentleman who owns a restaurant, and he's owned it for decades. But he said what's different, of course, is that everyone's around screens. You all know this. But he said what's really strange is the brothers and sisters fight around the table. And brothers and sisters, through the ages, have always fought around the table. But now when they fight, the parents just whip out their games and their screens, and the kids immediately stop fighting, and then they just start playing. So then the parents are like, yeah, And so what has happened? Yes, you've got a temporary win there. You can eat in peace, and I'm sure the people next to you are happy. But what have your kids learned about anger? Not very much. They have learned that, okay, I was really mad, but this seems more fun, and I guess I'm not mad anymore. And they're going to grow up someday, if they get married, to be the couple that has the big fight, they've got the disagreement, and the husband just like, oh, whatever. And he goes in his man cave and starts playing video games. And the woman texts and says to Brett, my husband's such a jerk, #jerk husband, And they don't know how to communicate, and they don't know how to be angry with each other in a good, positive, constructive way. And I know so many times as parents, we want to just avoid the whole anger thing, but instead to realize, wait a minute, my child has to learn. My child has to learn, what do I do? How can I tell good anger from bad anger? How can I have a behavior that is productive? Maybe it's run around the backyard 20 times and then come back and tell me what your sister did to me. Maybe it's go count to 100 and then come back and tell me what your sister did to me. But for you to teach, and many times we give in to them because we don't want to risk their anger. So when they say, can I watch one more show? Can I get the game? Can I watch this movie? Everyone else is watching the movie. That instead of saying no, because we know the anger is going to come, we say, oh, okay, because we'd rather avoid that anger, and that is not helping anyone either. So think about anger and how you can learn how to better manage it, and Dr. Chapman has an excellent book only on anger. I highly recommend it. All right, and then the next one is apology, and it's this whole idea that when your children grow up, they'll actually be able to apologize, own up for the things that they've done wrong, instead of saying, okay, I really messed that up with a friend, unfriend, and then it's like over. or that they just text sorry when it was really like a really terrible thing that they did, that they need to face ask for forgiveness and do all that, but all they can do at best is sorry. And if it doesn't work out, it's like, well, I guess they're not my friend anymore. And we've got to teach our kids how to apologize. And a wonderful way, of course, to teach them how to apologize is to model it ourselves. And so like we talked about earlier, that if there's something that you've done with your screens that now, after thinking about it, you wish you would have done different, it's okay to apologize, to say, I blew it with this and I'm really sorry. And as you model apology, that is not a weakness as a parent. Sometimes we think, well, I don't want to apologize. Don't want them to think mommy did it wrong, daddy did it wrong. No. When you've done something wrong, you apologize and you teach them how also to apologize. They can take responsibility at a very young age, and actually at a very old age too. Your teenagers and your young adults also. Dr. Chapman talked about when his little boy, probably 5 years old, and he said, oh, look, the cookie broke, it just broke. And Dr. Chapman had to teach him to say, no, the cookie didn't just break, you broke it. And that's okay, but you need to say, I broke the cookie. Don't blame the cookie. It didn't break. Oh, look, the magic marker's all over the wall. No, the magic marker is not all over the wall. You put the magic marker all over the wall, and you need to learn. So from a very young age, and also expect it from your teenagers, that when they have done something wrong, that they learn, you insist on it, that they own up for it, that they vocalize it, that they ask for forgiveness, because technology will not teach them this. Technology will teach them, oh, just unfriend it, just block it, just drop it, and it's over. But that's not how real life works. The last A+ skill is the skill of attention. And do you know, you guys are doing very well. You're paying very good attention. But do you know that in America since 2000, since mobile phones came into being, that our attention span has dropped 40% since the year 2000? And if you ask any teacher today, is it easier teaching today or was it easier 25 years ago? They'll say, oh my goodness, 25 years ago was so much different, because now you've got to have fireworks and changes and fun things and wow to keep kids' attention. And if you have found with your kids that they're having behavior problems in school, they're having a hard time paying attention, they have a hard time paying attention to you, you can really ask yourself, what's their screen habits? What's their screen diet like? Because again, what do screens teach us? Instant pleasure. Like if it's not pleasurable and it's not amusing, your kids tune out. And how many of us know a lot of work and life and relationships is not pleasurable and amusing? It requires diligence. And so again, welcome boredom in your life, in your child's life, so that they can better learn how to pay attention. A wonderful way to strengthen attention in your child, whether you have a 3-year-old or whether you have an 18-year-old, is reading, for them to read. And the experts agree on this, that the best predictor of school success is reading. And yet, you know how different it is reading online and reading in a book. For instance, if you take a book, you can sit here for a while and you can read. Oh, this grown-up social thing, I love it, and you can read. But when you're online and you're reading an article, same content even, article by page 2, by page 3, you're like, isn't this over yet, right? And you're looking at the side and you're looking at all the ads and you're like, oh, I want to buy those shoes and we should go on vacation there. And wow, look at that. The weather's going to be hot tomorrow. We're all over the place because the internet teaches you to skim and it teaches you to make quick decisions, and it's just very surfacey, whereas a book has more depth. And so if your child needs help with focusing and with attention, you need to get your child to read. And really by fostering that love of reading, I always tease people because a lot of us, right, as adults, we struggle with finding time to read also. So I always tell the parents, I give you permission to stage it, that when you see your child is coming in the room, you hear him coming down the hall, you just read your Bible, anything. I'm reading. As they come in, I'm reading. Mommy and Daddy, we read because we learn when we read. And you just fake it till you make it, buddy. So you read. And when your kids see your nose in a good book, they will do the same. They will follow suit. So make going to the library a priority. Make finding books that your kids find interesting, that have good moral characters, that are going to be good books. Make that a priority. Make reading a priority. And that will really, really help your child's attention span.